Right, are we recording? It's recording. This one's an important one. Here we go. Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a property investor, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how anybody can retire early with the right plan. And I wanted to bring this video to you to answer the many questions I get and the many messages I get on Instagram about how I would go about retiring early or becoming financially free from X position. So I wanted to create a generalised plan that anybody could follow. Now guys, before we get into the video, if you like this sort of content, please give this video a big like. It helps me out with the algorithm, and if you haven't already subscribed, why not consider subscribing? Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and I don't upsell anything on this channel. There is no course to buy, there is nothing that I'm trying to sell you. I just want to bring the information to you the way that I see it, and then you can make an informed decision on what you want to do with your finances. Now, the first thing that I thought about when it came to retiring early was how would someone reduce their expenses down and make sure that any money that they are getting as income isn't wasted. And the very first thing I can think of is to reduce bad debt. Now for me, bad debt is any sort of debt that you have, like credit cards, loans, things that are applying where you've maybe bought something that you've consumed or some clothing that depreciates really heavily very quickly. Those are the sort of things that are bad debt. So for most people, it's going to be credit cards, store cards, that sort of thing. And the interest rates on some of these debts can be astronomical. You know, 30% is not uncommon on a credit card. And whatever we invest in, I know it's very unlikely we're going to be able to achieve a 30% return on investment within a year. So if you've got a 30% APR credit card, it's almost certainly, financially, mathematically, going to be better to pay that off than it is going to be to invest in, for example, index funds, which over a period of time will return about 7 to 11, 12%, something in that region. If we said 10 as an average, we still can see that 30% saving is better than 10% making. That said, there is some validity in creating a habit, and we'll get onto that in a minute. But I definitely think attacking this bad debt. Now, people like Dave Ramsey, they suggest that you attack the debt, smallest debt to largest debt first. Now, mathematically, it doesn't make sense. But he's saying psychologically, it means you clear that first debt quicker, and therefore you're able to commit to clearing the next debt even quicker. Now, for me, I prefer the maths in this. Honestly, I'm a mathematical guy, I prefer logic. For me, it makes more sense to put everything on the minimum payment and then just concentrate on the highest APR first and get that down as quickly as I possibly can. Because actually, if I've got a debt, let's say for example, and I know we have a debt on our bed, for example, which was at 0% APR, it makes 0 sense in us paying that off. We're not going to be paying that debt off at all. We're going to keep the monthlies. It's 0%. However, if I had a credit card which was sat on 30%, that would be being cleared as quickly as possible. So my first tip and my first part of this plan would be to reduce this bad debt, especially anything that's 10% plus. Because at the end of the day, 10% is roughly what we can get with index funds, and we don't want to be investing if we can save more. Now, the next thing on my list is to create a spread. And you can do this in two ways. Either your income can go up, so increase income, or your expenses can go down. Now hopefully, with these debt repayments, our expenses are going to naturally lower. But for most people, when you look online and you sort of have a look at the FIRE community, the financial independence, retire early community, they talk a lot about having side hustles, about having extra jobs, all that sort of stuff so that they can hit their income targets in the short term, so that over the long term, they can retire early. And for me, I think most people, if they've got this sort of target to, let's say, retire in 7 years or something like that, they're probably going to have to create quite a big spread between income and expenses, and as such are probably going to need a side hustle or something that's going to create some more income. Now that's an incredibly individual thing for me to discuss, right? I don't know what your skills are, but I know that anybody can go out and get a minimum wage job, for example. I know that £10 an hour wouldn't be that hard for someone to achieve. So if you just had to work an extra 20 hours a week, which sounds like a lot, but at the end of the day it's not, at £10 an hour, I mean, well, that's an extra £200 a week, and times that up over 4.3 weeks in a year, No, I'm terrible with this, aren't I? 4.3 weeks in a month, you're looking at somewhere about £900 or certainly 880 or something like that per month, which is a significant improvement. Let's say, for example, you were net zero before. Well, now you've got £880 a month to either pay off these bad debts or to invest. And either way, it's going to get you to that target quicker. So creating a spread, without question, is the next important thing. And that really is going to be either by increasing your income or reducing your expenses. Either or. Remembering that a pound saved is worth more than a pound earned because there are taxes and everything else that comes into consideration. The next thing is to start investing. And actually, I like the idea of investing early, even when you're paying this off, just to form a habit. Now, I know it goes against the maths, and I know it goes against what I said a minute ago, but I do believe that working hard on your fortune is much easier than working hard to pay your bills. So unless you're capable of creating a mindset, I guess, where paying off the bills becomes fun because you can see that debt coming down, you know what it means to your future, you're able to motivate yourself to it, you may find that it's easier psychologically to work hard to invest in your future. Now, for me, index funds are the place where you can really do that. I mean, using a platform, everyone knows on this channel that I use Hargreaves Lansdown, the minimum you can invest is £25 a month. And if you use something like a Vanguard fund, you're going to be doing it at a very low cost. And I've done another video on why I choose index funds, so I'm not going to go into that in too much detail today. But what I would say is you can invest for as little as £25 a month in Vanguard index funds with incredibly low fees. And that's going to really start supercharging your wealth journey. Over time, we know you're going to need to invest a lot more than £25 a month if you're looking to become financially free, retire early, whatever you want to define it as. We know you're going to need to be investing probably over £1,000 a month as an absolute minimum to hit that target in 7 years. So we know there's going to need to be a bigger spread, but hopefully we're going to reduce this debt earlier and we'll be able to create this spread where we're going to be able to put a lot aside to start building up our investment pot. And I would say I would do index funds until I had somewhere like £30,000 to £50,000. And at that point, I would probably start investing in property. And once I've got property, I know that it's a leverageable asset. And when you're trying to create money quickly, you can take on a little bit of extra risk with leverage. In property's case, it's a mortgage. And by taking on that extra risk, you have so much extra upside should the property price increase. So let's use an example. We have a £50,000 deposit. We buy a £200,000 house, and over the course of 10 years, that house becomes worth £400,000, which is about the average. You could easily say it's 12 years or 15 years, whatever makes you comfortable, but the principle's the same. When that house doubles in value over time, which over time they generally have in the UK, this £50,000 deposit doesn't double, the value of the house does. And because of that leverage, you actually have an asset now that's worth £400,000 and you've made a £200,000 profit. And that's exactly what happened with my house over in London. I bought it for £176,000. Today, 13 years later, it's currently worth £475,000. So huge difference. I made the best part of £300,000 and I used the bank's money for leverage. So I believe that property is a really, really solid way of multiplying your gains really, really quickly. Obviously, I'm talking about investment property. I'm talking about being able to get that rented out, the rent to cover the mortgage and pay you an amount. And you know, anybody again who watches this channel regularly knows single let, I want 10%, multi-let, i.e. HMO, I want 15 to 25% for my extra risk. As long as I'm getting that, I'm still getting a cash flow return. And on top of that, I am going to be able to have great capital play over the long run. I mean, let's just look at my portfolio. It was £3 million roughly in July. Today in November, £3,112,000 if the average return has been paid to me on my portfolio. I made £112,000 in 6 months just from capital appreciation. It's insane how it multiplies up over time. Now, the last thing on my list is to hit your income target without increasing your spending. Now, the reason I put that on there is because I had a plan. And my plan was to get to £10,000 a month. And I remember hitting that plan a long time ago and sailing straight on past because I'd increased my spending. So you've got to be conscious, I believe, of what is your aim and your goal. Now, I'm perfectly comfortable with the fact that my plan now is to just keep on growing and keep on creating and adding as much value as I possibly can. I love growing businesses. I love investing. It's not something I want to stop. I wasn't doing it to retire. I was doing it to become wealthy and to have all the trappings that that gives me, in particular choices and freedom. And to that end, I've achieved my goal. But having an arbitrary £10,000 a month target for me wasn't actually what I wanted. Now, for you, it might be that you don't enjoy building businesses or your job or whatever it is that you do to create income, and you might want to hit £3,000 a month and stop. And I think it's an incredibly important thing that if you're going to start increasing your spending, you have to understand that you're increasing your target. And that means that the time it takes to get you there can be much longer. And my last thing, guys, stay consistent. It's easy to create a plan, it's easy to say we're going to do this, and in month 3, once we've done a few payments on our credit cards, set up our index funds, just go, well, I'm a bit bored now and I do deserve a holiday, and all those hard-fought gains are gone. So I think consistency is key when it comes to these things, but ultimately, in my mind, reduce bad debt, create a spread between income and expenses, invest that spread initially in index funds because they are the lowest risk, lowest cost opportunity that you can access for as little as £25 a month. Then for me, it's invest in property because I think it's a leveraged asset. I think that will allow you to grow your wealth quicker. Certainly it has for me. And then hit your target without increasing spending. If you do that, I believe anybody can retire within 7 years. So guys, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your target. Put it down in the comments below. I would love to read every single one of them. And I will reply to everybody who comments on this video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already liked it, give it a big like, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.